Hey y'all, this is TCA Gaming, and in this video we are going to go over the pre-release Raichu that was just recently graded by PSA. And before we get into all of that, I'm going to just say a few things. I do not own the card. I did not grade the card. I've never held that card in hand personally. I did share it on IG at the permission of the person who has the card in hand, who is actually selling it for his friend. Now, I do have a copy, this one right here. This is the only copy that I've ever owned. This is the very first copy that had circulated in the internet. Back in the day, this copy came from Mike Boozer. And then the second copy that you guys are aware of is the 8. Both of these copies came from David Person. All of this is public knowledge. We're going to kind of go through some of the public links that you guys can find regarding this information. We're going to do a brief overview, and then we're going to talk about the copy that was just graded and the information that I can share. A lot of it I cannot, but we will talk about some of that. So again, this is the only copy that I own. It's the CGC 5.5, the one that was graded by PSA. I have no ownership over that. I am trying to buy it, but I doubt that I'm going to be able to. It looks like it's going to be very expensive, and I've already spent a lot of money as it is just on this copy. So let's jump into Google Chrome. All right, so this is the very first post that we have talking about the sale of the copies that is mine right here, this one right here. This was ungraded when it happened. But this is Pokepop. This is like the OG before the OGs you guys know about today. This was back in PokeGym days, before there was the UPCCC, before that turned into E4. And then you got Reddits and everything else that kind of spawned off of this place. There were people here operating before I was ever really on the internet. I was selling at this time, but I was a new guy. Like, I was definitely not the Pokepops, the Mikes in the community. And the community was very small, very tight-knit. But this is where it actually talks about the very first sale that happened for $10,500. It went from Mike Boozer. It went not Pokepop Mike Boozer, who worked at Wizards of the Coast. It went from him to Will.i.am. And there's actually a video that goes through more of the information here. If you guys are familiar with DJ Gigabyte, he goes through right here. He's talking with David Person in Coffee Talks, and in this episode they actually go over the pre-release Raichu, the full history of it. I will put a link down there in the description. It's going to start you off right at that history. Now, I will preface, there is some drama in this video. There's about drama in every video, but know that this is old news at this point. But there is a lot of good information here about the pre-release Raichu and the exact chain of custody, how it happened. It went from basically it went from Mike to this guy named Will.i.am, and then I don't know if it's supposed to be William or Play, but it went to a guy named Will. Will couldn't get it graded by PSA, so then after that it was sold to David Person for the exact same price, $10,500, and that was the very first copy. And the second copy that David was able to pick up, they talk about that later on as well. This information is also gone over in CGC's article that they put out. You can see right here that goes through the history. This was back in November of 2023. You can see both copies. Here's the 5.5 that I own. This was the original one that had come up on PokeGym. And I think that at that time in 2009 when it was sold, this is actually 3 years old now. This link doesn't work, but a picture had been posted 3 years prior confirming the existence, and there are talks about the pre-release Raichu going back all the way to like 2002 on Pojo, where you can actually go back in the Wayback Machine, and then supposed existence quotes going back even all the way back to 1999, which is kind of crazy. But as for pictures, it does show the pictures. There's the Pojo screenshot that you could probably pick up from the Wayback Machine archive.org, talking about how it was $150, right? It's kind of cool. But this is the sheet they believe it come off of, and here's that 5.5 that was owned by Mike. This is the original picture that was supposed to be linked to there from PokeGym, but it just was broken. You can click on it, you can enlarge it, you can pick out where all the little dots and things are. So like, this is the only picture that people knew of for years. So it was like a myth. It was kind of like a legend type deal. And then when this card was finally graded, this was the exact copy that had come from that picture from Mike Boozer originally. And the 8 has information as well. There's Mike Boozer himself. Here's the 8. This actually come through Jennifer M. and there is we'll just say that there is a correlation between the 3 copies that have now been graded, but I can't go into details there. However, this copy right here was also owned, submitted and owned by David Person, but it come from Jennifer. This was much later. As you can see, it was on November 6th, 2018. That's when she brought her binder to the job. Somebody noticed it, and then it was subsequently sold and graded. So both of these copies have been, up until this past month or so, these were the only 2 copies that had been circulated publicly and were known to be graded. Now, there have been sightings that have been talked about, potential sales, but they never were really that public. Now, I believe there was one 3 months ago someone posted a picture of, but there was no confirmation on whether or not that one was ever graded or authenticated or anything like that. This is another spot in PokeGym. Back in 2013, King Pokemon actually called out the card. He was like, I will pay $25,000 for this card. And of course, nobody ever showed up to offer him one. He did only hear crickets. I think he was more saying he doesn't really think it exists because he can't get one. But you know, sometimes that brings things out of the woodwork. $25,000 back in 2013 was a crazy amount of money. Even though if you think about 2009, 2005, I mean, that's when you could buy, gosh, a PSA 10 first edition Charizard in 2009 was probably $1,500, because I sold a copy in 2010. I think for right around $1,600, and then I sold one for about $2,000. That might have been 2011, so $10,500 back in 2009. You might have been able to get a first edition base set Charizard for $1,000 or less, because I know Gary was buying them for $700 for the longest time, and he was the one really grading them. That's how much of a premium people were paying for the pre-release Raichu. They were the only people. It was just an exorbitant amount of money, especially for what you could buy for that price. Now, 2013, $25,000. I don't think that would. That shouldn't be in quite the same magnitude, but at the same time, still going to be probably more than really anything else going on for sale in the hobby at the time. I can't remember how much the Illustrator went for back then, but it's probably right up there around that price point. I want to say maybe it was like $50,000 or $60,000, but again, I'm not exactly too sure on that. It's sometimes these prices, they blur over a decade out, and it was a lot of money. But then again, nobody ever come up with one. And again, I'm going to have links to all of these things down here in the description for you guys to read through, especially if you go through here. Like, it goes through like all the information. It's kind of like a nice, concise way of how they present the information for why they graded the cards and what was going on there. And this right here, this actually has a layout of a ton of information. These are first-hand experiences coming directly from David, who was the owner of both the 5.5 and 8 until he sold me the 5.5. Now, fast forward to yesterday. I received a message from somebody on Instagram. They said that they were going to, they were just letting me know, hey, a copy's been graded. They actually sent me this picture here. It was kind of extended, had a little bit more information there. And I said, I heard, and I let the guy know that, you know, I told you it was probably going to get out very quickly. You can search for this kind of thing on PSA. It's going to update into the pop report. As soon as somebody sees it, they're going to be like, okay, what's going on? And even with the numbers, like, this is a lot of numbers here, but there's probably ways that you can go through and search all recent numbers and try to figure out, you know, when something was graded. And, you know, like, this number itself wasn't known at the time, but it's definitely public now. And so he was like, yeah, you're welcome to go ahead and share it yourself. And, you know, it might be good coming from someone like you, as it is. And so I did. And, you know, that probably wasn't the best thing, because I did make an offer on the card, and I'm still in the running for it. I don't know if I'm going to actually get it. It's probably going, like I said, I believe it's going to go above what I'm going to be willing to pay for it, but you just never know. But anyways, you can see here's a Reddit forum on it, and there's some information here. But the guy, let's see, where's he at? The guy actually replies. So this is public. I believe that he would not mind, since he posted publicly. And you can find this if you just do a simple search of pre-release Raichu into Google. He said, thought I would chime in. I am the person who Stu, Kevin, Rusty, and a couple others helped guide to PSA. The seller is a very good friend of mine and worked with me at Wizards for a decade. He helped run Pokemon OP Organized Play back in the very early 2000s and actually gave Mike Boozer the copy he sold many years ago. I will have I will have the card with me in Vegas this weekend for MagicCon, and we are actively shopping it right now and taking offers. It is possible we place it in an auction or on consignment, but I just wanted to confirm that the card is 100% authentic and the process for PSA's verification is very rigorous. It's not a done deal, but I am also working with PSA's marketing team to potentially have the story in a future issue of their magazines as well. I want to thank PSA and everyone who advised me through the process. For my friend and I, he's not really a collector but managed to hang on to this awesome treasure for approximately 25 years, and I'm humbled that he thought enough of me to ask me to help him sell it. More info to come. Cheers all. So, my process in that is pretty much exactly what he said. I just helped guide him to where to grade it. In fact, he talked to me about it. He had almost taken an offer that was significantly less than what he's being offered right now on the spot for the card ungraded. But I told him, I said, hey, if you get this thing with a letter stating authenticity, the provenance, given the full backstory, and you get it graded, I'd be willing to pay this amount, which was at that time twice the amount that the other guy had offered. And he said, well, where would you recommend to grade it? And I told him CGC is going to be your only option. PSA has never graded this card. If you can get PSA to grade it, that would be historic. So if you can and you want to try to go through that process, go for it, but it's probably going to be fruitless. Because I did not have confidence at all that PSA would ever grade a pre-release Raichu. They never have in the past, especially with what's went on recently with the prototypes. They almost started grading some of those from what I heard. That's speculation, but they never did because they couldn't get, I guess, the required information that they needed, and that backfired on CGC, didn't it? I mean, I would think that even CGC might be standoffish of cards like this just because of what just happened with the prototypes and the betas and the alphas and the deltas and whatever else you want to call them. I mean, you're talking about they had provenance going directly to a creator of Pokemon, one of the highest ups, longest standing members in the Pokemon community. They had provenance directly from him, and that backfired. So I didn't think anybody was going to, if anybody was going to grade it, it was going to be CGC, but PSA I thought was a no-go, but I told him if he could, yeah, go for it. That would be completely historic. I think that would add an extra layer of confidence to the market just because they haven't had the recent scandal that CGC has. And, I thought for sure if he was going to grade it, that's where it was going to be with CGC. But he ended up getting it graded through PSA. So that's all on him. I did steer him towards a representative that I thought would take the time to look into it. I don't know if I can mention those names or not. I'm sure they'll come out in time. You guys probably know who it is as it is if you've dealt with PSA long enough. But yeah, they went into it. They took the time to go through and hear the backstory, go through everything that went on with the provenance and the history. That's not mine to tell, but I do know that names were put with it. There was written documentation, and I believe that there is going to be some kind of video as well, but I don't know what's going to be public, and it's not anything that I can share. I've only seen a little bit of it because, like I said, it wasn't my card to submit. I wasn't a part of the origination process, I wasn't part of the original provenance. I was just somebody that he got in contact with because we had done prior business, and I had even mentioned the pre-release Raichu back in 2022 or 2023, and I was like, hey, if this ever comes up, I'm interested. And I think that's the only reason he even reached out to me. Somebody had mentioned my name, and then he also saw that I had mentioned the card in an email, so then we got to talking. So my involvement in the process has been very minimal, but I am glad to be a part of the process and to get to see it and even get to share this information with you guys, especially being one of the 3 owners of a graded pre-release Raichu as far as we know in the world. Now, if there's other pre-release Raichus, as far as I know, that they have not been graded as of this moment, and I would think that any that do get graded, they would need a high amount of provenance and people backing up what they say with their names and everything else. I imagine being here in America, having your name to something on a document and video, that would cause serious backlash on whoever it is, the name of the person who's saying they are the owner, if something ever did turn out to be counterfeit. So I believe that PSA has done the right steps that they need to authenticate the Raichu, although I have not been a part of the process. So they should, as far as reading from this and from what I've heard, there should be information to come out down the road, but it's not going to be immediate. I think it is going to be a process. As far as I had someone come to me on Instagram, they're like, hey, if they do put something out in a magazine, they're like 3 or 4 months out as it is usually. I mean, that makes sense. But I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, then it might take that long. It may not. Also, Elite Forum, they have this information posted as well. As soon as I put it up on Instagram, I think somebody posted it here, and they put the pictures. And then, of course, there's a lot of information here where people are talking about it, potential prices, history. They start throwing in some links in there. And it's interesting to see. This will probably update a little bit more quickly than, say, like Reddit or other places. There's a lot of OG collectors and people that are on this forum that actually transferred over from the original Elite Forum, which was like the Ultimate Pokemon Collectors Card or Card Collectors Club. It was like UPCCC, something like that. And then that was people who branched off from PokeGym. So we're doing like a full circle here on the pre-release Raichu. And I realize there's not a ton of information out there on the pre-release Raichu, so I think it's good to document this stuff, kind of put these links here and there. And so I'm going to put those down in the description, so if any of you guys are wanting to see the original history, this is just a place for you to come. Go check out that information there if you'd like. And just so you guys can know, if you go to PSA's site right now and you go to submit, if you type in pre-release Raichu, I hope this works. Sometimes it's a little funny. Yeah, right there. You can see that they now accept the pre-release Raichu. It doesn't have a picture on it. It's got this little thumbprint thing. I guess because it would be the only one that they've graded. But yes, it is right there. You can select pre-release Raichu, and you can come in here and you can grade it. It's going to be pretty expensive. I did select the $100,000 max insured value, and you can see that's going to cost $3,000 to grade. But they are taking on quite a bit of liability when they put their name behind a card like that. As for Rattle, I know I've gotten some messages about that. Rattle, he did message me personally. I've shown all the information that can be shown publicly because the other information that has been shared with me graciously is not mine to share, but it should come out in time. I would if you're really trying to press for the information, Mike, I would suggest reaching directly out to PSA. Maybe they'll share more that way, or you can see that there's a way to reach out to the guy on Reddit, and you could probably find his information as well if you want to reach out to him there. Unless he tells me, hey, I would like you to make a post about this, then I would do that. I mean, I would gladly post more information, but everything that I receive from them, it's not firsthand. It's all going to be second or third hand. The only firsthand information I can really give you guys on PSA is the stuff that I'm showing you publicly, because everybody can see it, or like I bought this from Dave. As always, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this video and your support. I hope you guys have a great weekend.